Big news! Wayfair's tax refund sale is on now. Right now through March 2nd, you can score up to 70% off furniture, decor, appliances, rugs, and more. With fast and easy shipping straight to your door. Plus, amazing flash deals. Shop Wayfair's tax refund sale now to make the most of your refund with huge savings through March 2nd at wayfair.com.
Wayfair, every style, every home.
Okay, Babette, I think we're going to open today's show with a poem.
Oh my God. Okay. Okay, tell me more.
Not my poem. Okay, as you know,
Okay.
I don't write poetry. I got the inspiration for today's guest while scrolling on Instagram, and I stumbled across something that they wrote.
The masculine industrial complex had once again found a way to stick its dick in me. My humiliating war and ill-fated pact with the sacred masculine still raging in my 40s. I hear the needle whisper, "Oh, Pinocchio, you'll never be a real man."
Whoa. Okay. That's so interesting. What I'm gathering is like, this is someone who's like 40 and still, grappling with these ideas, these lifelong struggles of gender and like masculinity. Like,
Yeah.
Very powerful.
It's really interesting because we talk a lot about hormones in this way as like a teenage phenomenon, but hormones coming in is a big change, but hormones leaving is also like a huge change, which happens like naturally with age. It's just really interesting to hear a cis person talk about taking testosterone. I think we got into this with Persephone, but her and I were talking about all the gender affirming care that cis people take advantage of.
Yeah, I feel like you don't hear that much about cis men taking testosterone, even though it's like pretty common. Like all of the hysteria about hormones in the media are all about trans people and like trans kids taking them. But, plenty of men also seek out gender affirming care.
Definitely. I do remember when I first was looking up videos of people taking testosterone on YouTube, I got like almost all cis men, and I was so confused. I just was like, all of these guys are trans? It's just like the most like ripped, like normal ass middle-aged men like lifting like kettlebells.
It's like, whoa, they're so good at being
I'm like, you guys are stealth. Yeah. I love this because last week we talked to my good friend Roberta Colindres about her feelings around having quote unquote failed at femininity.
I think the thing that for me is most historically tied to gender, like, or the idea of gender, is just like feeling very different than other girls my whole life. Because I was such a beyond tomboy, because I was so obviously gay as a kid, I just felt so different. Of course I was like dressing a certain way and all the girls were doing, I wasn't shaving my legs when all the other girls were. And I was like, I just felt so weird already that I didn't try to fix it in any way that would make me fit in, because I didn't want to draw attention to the fact that I needed to fix anything.
And this week, we're talking to none other than Brontez Purnell, who knows all about what it feels like to not meet certain standards of traditional masculinity.
Am I even queer?
I think I want to take testosterone.
I mean, I'm wearing men's underwear right now.
Is that a boy? Is that a girl?
Man, woman, cisgender, transgender, like we're born into language.
Butch, femme, T-girl,
decolonized,
queer, trans, BIPOC,
neurodivergent,
cisgender, heteropatriarchal, capitalist, girl boss.
Queer femme, lipstick every day.
T for T, like fag boy relationship.
Butch!
boyish, and like sprightly.
The softer, more fey.
Oh, but you're so feminine. You're so feminine.
Attraction to a hot T-boy.
I used sexuality to try to understand my gender.
What does it look like for non-binary people to quote-unquote transition?
I was a boy. If I was looking down at the memory, I was a boy.
It's really difficult to look at gender identity head on.
Wait, I think I'm trans.
My name is Brontez Purnell. I am a writer, a dancer, and a filmmaker. That's the easiest way I know how to explain it.
Nice. That's the multi-hyphen.
That's the gig economy.
Okay, so I really just want to start with your kind of recent like Instagram post about doing tea.
Oh, yeah. Basically, I waited 20 years to be an honorary trans man. And because of a medical condition I have, my body doesn't really make testosterone anymore, so I have to take it in the form. But then also it happens to lots of people just, genetically or whatever. I also suspect I've never been a highly testosterone man anyway. Like, I don't have an Adam's apple. My voice didn't drop till I was 26, and this is as deep as it got. And also, have you seen my ass? Oh my God.
So pretty much this podcast, we're in this like annoying space where it's like obviously us as queer people, we don't really see the binary. We're not like there's masc and there's femme. And we're all like wanting to be past that. But we also are asking like, what does masculinity mean to you?
Oh God. Besides a neurological con job.
Yeah.
I don't know. Honestly, I don't know if it ever means much. A lot of people have a lot invested in these being very, very definite definitions. There's other people very, very invested in definitions having no meaning. I just know where I've always fell on the spectrum and where it lands with me. I feel like I always was understood as a girl, like my whole life, and especially like these last couple of years. I do not have sex without gay men. I just don't have sex without gay men. It just never happened. My trade is mostly like down low Black and Latino men. The culture in which I have sex, I am weirdly understood to be a woman.
Wow.
Like,
yeah.
that is just how I feel like that is just the way they talk to me, the way it's explained to me, the way it goes down. I even make this joke where I was just like, I should have just shut my fucking mouth and been down low trade. But even then, it's like, who gets to be down low trade is about who can affect masculinity. And I'm a faggot. And in realms, in like my queer, white, academic realm, yes, I am a cis male all goddamn day. And I totally get that and the privileges and whatever that comes with that. But in the culture in which I reside, I just don't think it's that. And I could say, this is what the problem I have with my own masculinity, my own identification. Public image really is what other people think of you. And we do play that game with society all the time. Like, I can self-identify till the gods come home when I'm getting followed down the street because I have a fat ass and a high voice. And they're like, hey, sister, where you get all the muscles? Yo, to that nigga, like, I am a woman to be followed. It's how I understand my gender identity is such a weird helix of not just gender, race, economics.
Yeah.
Is what's all informing my gender identity. Say, for instance, I'm like working on this like new show, a pitch for this new show about this Black trans woman. And like what I find is that mostly the trans women that are being killed are like Black women who fuck with like heterosexual trade, quote unquote heterosexual trade. It's really fucking specific. I don't quite hear white trans lesbians who only fuck with other trans women or whatever having the same experience. And no one ever fucking like really talks about that.
Yeah.
This was something that I learned in a fucking zine when I was a young riot girl. It's like there is no gender analysis without a race and class analysis. There's no race analysis without a class and gender analysis. These are the things where I get highly suspect when we are not talking about these things also. Yeah. It's another reason why I feel like I don't really have sex with white dudes on Grindr. They're generally looking for like Black Mandingo top dude. Once you say you are a Black bottom, especially in this realm, it totally solidifies who you will be having sex with for the most part. And there's a lot of decisions already made for you. When I list my pronouns, I'll say whatever the fuck, because I really feel like all of them can be really true. Plus, I am an older faggot, and I come from a era where girl was a gender neutral term. So it's like, the belief that I don't inhabit all these things at once, I don't know. Plus, when I got to San Francisco, I was a total dyke type. I didn't hang out with the faggots. I did not filter into faggotry like that till I was maybe 23 or 24. And plus, it's like San Francisco, sex worker, dykes, of the early aughts were a very specific bunch. And even when people say they, them, or non-binary, it's like a total erasure of like the 90 terms people had at once to describe everything. I remember being 20 and this like dyke was just like, yeah, Brontez, you're more like a tomboy dyke. And I like had to like have them explain what all the fuck that meant, or seriously, or it'd be like 4 different adjectives, femme, or this type of book. It was a very colorful language
lipstick
system
lesbian
that kind of gets annihilated.
Yeah, totally.
So like but like it was like be even crazier shit than that. Like I thought these were better ways to explain things, but
yeah,
we learned for an umbrella term to just make things easier, right?
Yes,
so
definitely. Yeah,
here we are.
My co-host Babette is actually from Oakland, but they have a question that they wanted me to ask, which is, how has gentrification affected your love life?
Okay, so when I moved here about 20 years ago, well, gentrification, my lack of knee cartilage, my lack of interest, and my lack of testosterone has affected my love life. Let's be quite clear. There's no trade analysis or dick analysis without knee or cartilage analysis or fucking testosterone analysis. Though I remember I used to work at Steamworks Bathhouse. And before the fucking tech takeover, man, it would be like such a wide swath of dudes. I'm talking like every guy you'd imagine at, say, Target on any given day at the back. 300 dudes on like lights out, you know what I'm saying? But as internet culture prevailed, I feel like people were more likely to take a chance because they didn't know when they were getting laid again. But like, I feel like less people are getting laid like that, and we all just treat each other like we're ordering pizza or Uber Eats when we're dating now. Whoa. That culture of I should be able to get whatever I want on my phone whenever I want it prevails. When you go to the bathhouse, everyone's on their fucking phones trying to lure trade to the bathhouse as opposed to just walking around the bathhouse. But in a culture where everyone thinks that they should just have whatever on their phone, you can tell the tech mentality. These boys really think that they should not be having sex until their most precious porn ideal walks in. Whereas I was in that era where I learned from those older whores where I was just like, you fucked as many people as you could. You came there to like abandon all sense of criteria. You were there to engage in something very primal.
Yeah.
Right? And so people will be there to like, have this like weird, completely misguided, unjustified porn experience when really you're supposed to be engaging in this really crazy animal human act and get the fuck on with their day. Really, it just holds the whole process up, and that's the part that I hate the most.
Wow. Yeah. Huge. Okay. I'm really interested in your take on gender and like your comfortability with your own gender. Were there times where you questioned it and you were kind of like, wow, something really needs to change. I'm not my full self and I need this, this, and this to fix it?
I don't know if that was related about gender. The only thing I thought would fix my life was money. Masculinity is such a fucking joke, right? I like tell people to like, but this is the thing I always say to like weird straight dudes that are saying like transphobic shit. I have to remind them that there's more to being a man than just having a dick. Like if it was just about having a dick, this is what I say all the time. If people really intuited me as a man, how come no one does what the fuck I say? You know what I'm saying? There's a whole fucking pecking order to this game and like dance, like we play with it. Yeah, and there's just several situations where I feel like I really had to fought to be understood as a man. Maybe a backwards dysphoria. Who I was presenting as, I don't know. I've always ever felt like a boy, basically, but whether I get interpreted as that, who fucking knows? I'm more or less cis presenting person.
Yeah.
Yeah. Who can be denied that quite easily. So
yeah, my brother's also gay. I feel like he's always with the girls chatting about like how nasty and annoying men are to date. What do you do with your like critiques of masculinity but your attraction to it?
There's so many caveats of it. It really goes all over the place. All I can say is I'm generally impressed by the biodiversity of it. Because it's like, in my head, yes, I should be with some other super hilarious femme ass faggot who's like totally fucking awesome. But I tend to repel men like that intensely, not because of lack of trying, but they always see me as that like sweaty dyke that's trying to get them to like, cross over in college. Other faggots treat me like this, right? When I want to get laid, it is generally like a boy that presents as straight in the world. And I don't understand why that is who generally comes to the rescue. Someone who is politically fucking, you someone so far out of my fucking realm. Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But also, I don't know. I have frustrations with it, of course. But then also, I've had some really great surprises. I've had some like really great talks with people. I've had some very uninteresting talks with people who are supposed to be on my side. I don't always know where to like kind of classify my experience, but also just glad that I'm having one.
Okay, yeah. You talk a lot about an old school homosexual, and I really am curious about this. This was in like Johnny, Would You Love Me If My Dick Were Bigger? What do you think classifies kind of like a new age or like a modern homosexual?
I don't really like to say that I feel like people are having an easier time with it because A, I don't. And even with all the trans legislation, like I'll have like these white faggots lecturing to me from their Instagram posts being like, oh, you're not fighting for trans people. Well, you're going to be next. But then part of me in my head is like, I'm a fucking black ass faggot from Alabama. When have I not felt like anyone could kill me any fucking time they felt like? Do you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
It's real. I feel like there was probably like a 2-year period in my life post Obama where we all got way too comfortable, perhaps. You know what I'm saying? And then it like, the universe really revealed itself. I don't think we're necessarily fighting any new battle. And I feel like it will constantly change, like kind of like form and shape. Wait, hold up. I forgot what the question was.
No, I like that. The question was like, what's your take on kind of like the new homosexuals? But
Hold on.
For those of you listening at home, Brontez is eating a tofu sandwich.
I didn't eat today, so I'm like starving. Sorry. Well, there's kind of this sense of like they can take it or leave it. Or there's something that seems to be closer to the zhuzh of like wide expansive definitions or definitions that you can't quite zero in or intense umbrella terms. I don't know. I honestly feel like, God, this is going to be so offensive, but you know what? I'm an evil fucking faggot and I'm going to say it. Basically, somewhere in the last 10 years with these college classes, we allowed a bunch of straight white women to start calling themselves queer. Now we got shit like Harry Styles. And thank you, bless you. That's great. That's wonderful. But I think it really let a bunch of corny motherfuckers up in the club. And like now everyone's gagging, but I'm just like, y'all did this shit.
Wow.
I was like, I was in San Francisco. I was hanging out with the leftists. I knew that I was a witch. I knew that I was evil and it was great. Y'all kept like pulling us over to this fucking mainstream shit blew up. And you're like, wait, you mean they don't want us at their party? I'm like, nah, that's why I tried to get you to come to mine in the first place. God damn it. We could have had Utopia. Every time I like am registered in some talk, it's like queer BIPOC Brontez Purnell. I'm like, I am not a queer BIPOC. I am a black ass faggot. It is so specific what that branding is. Something about queer BIPOC, every time I sat there, it was always just like me sitting with like these people who are so not black faggots and also would talk over me, didn't give a fuck what I said, blah, blah, blah. I was just like, let me give you some specific terms so you know what the fuck you're dealing with. I'm not saying that people should do anything. I'm an anti-authoritarian. I would never tell people like stop identifying as this, blah, blah. I can only explain why I don't.
Yeah, totally. I think coming from your DIY, like punk, all of this kind of like do what you need to do for yourself, what would you say to someone who feels like they can't afford their ideal gender expression?
You fucking can't. None of us really fucking can't. You know what I'm saying? Gender is actually so very fucking limiting, right? I'm writing this poetry book called Diary of Dead Bachelors. It's like in honor of like my dead fathers and stuff, but really examining masculinity and how the logical end of toxic masculinity is that men die alone because no one wants to fucking deal with them. In their ideal gender, because they have a dick, they're the king of the castle. No one should argue with them. This, that, the other. No one's dealing with that. They go and die alone. My mother, the women I've fucking grown up with, I feel like their ideal expression is something much greater than they have access to in the world. They very much get denied that all the time. Like, I don't want to totalize it in this way and be like, we're all suffering, because, like, that's not it. But it's like, my ideal gender expression changes day to day. It's not set in stone. Like, also, have you seen my body? No matter whether I'm in a dress or jeans, it's giving fucking voluptuous. Actually, maybe, okay, here's the thing. This is the fucked up part. I'm like that 1% that actually sits within my ideal gender expression every day, and it's still hard. So,
that voice.
I like you. I'm glad you know.
I like you too. I like you too. It's still hard.
I can't even but also I would send somebody like that a lot of love, because I don't know what our ideal expression too is. It's like, I don't know, I feel like it comes from a lot of places. Make sure that your ideal gender expression is coming from a voice inside and not fucking the 900 daggers being thrown at us all the time. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's so many rules and there's so many ways to feel bad. I personally am someone who likes feeling bad, but for those who like, for those who don't, I don't know. It's like, it's a lot of checking in, you know. I think it's a lot of checking in.
Yeah, that's really beautiful. I like that. I think questioning where it's coming from is huge.
Some people are way more thwarted from their expression than others too. Yeah. So no, I feel like that's so delicate, almost unanswerable.
Wow. Yeah, I really want to ask you about dance. Is that someplace where you feel particularly masculine or feminine, if we have to use these binary terms, or is it a place where you escape from the question of gender altogether? Or how does it feel for you?
No. I mean, I always feel like I'm in a masculine body, but my dance world has always felt feminine. When I went and studied when I was 19, when I took my first classes at Laney College, it is the one place where you will be in the majority as a cis male. You'll be in ballet class. It'll be you and 3 other gay guys. When I danced in African dance theater, ritual dance theater, that is very gendered. That is very about spirits, all this shit. And there was just separate roles for men and separate roles as female men. I remember this one girl being like, well, what happened to all the men in dance? Because we were watching some older jazz performance video. I think it was Dance Theater Harlem. She was like, what happened to all the men in dance? And the teacher was like, AIDS.
Yeah.
Because it was a video from the 80s and like, wow. They were like, AIDS. And I never even thought about like that epidemic, like really, because it's like, I remember growing up in the 80s and everyone being in leg warmers and tights. And you look back and there is like kind of this feminine, masculine energy that goes on in that world. Have you ever seen fucking, what's his name? God, not Tony Danza. You know, the one that did Staying Alive.
Oh, yeah.
Not Staying Alive. The disco movie. What the fuck is his name?
John Travolta?
John Travolta! Like,
on the God mic. Yeah.
You see fucking John Travolta in those films, and he's like wearing Daisy Dukes, like pumping. It's like crazy. And nothing like that goes down for like years after because of AIDS. Wow. Like people were scared to like let that kind of male masculinity energy flow, right? And sometimes being in African dance class too, and there'd be like obviously a Butch Dyke or like some masculine presenting person, but because of that theater, them being asked to wear a skirt during the dance and it being like so crazy, right? But then also shout out to them fucking like, you know, it was Oakland, and so it would be like these like, you know, these white like trans masculine like people, like 2 or 3 dancers that I remember, but then being like, damn, I'm here around all these fucking like African elders. Let me just throw this shit on and get on with it. Like, it was like crazy. But then also too, that's a good question because I also feel like for years when I was dancing in Gravy Train, I was dancing to escape my body.
Ooh. Tell me more about that.
I wasn't trying to be a gender. I wasn't trying to be a race. I was trying to be a fucking point of energy in the fucking universe, which I guess I am either way, but you know what I mean? Like the ketamine bump version of the story. You ever do a bump of ketamine and feel like Neo from the Matrix and you're just like, I am everything and nothing. I can float through this fucking wall right now. Oh my God, a bump of ketamine is my gender expression, goddammit. Like, I'm just like what?
Oh my God. Are you excited for your upcoming shows? Are you going to be dancing with Gravy Train?
Hell no, I ain't excited. I'm fucking old and fat. Me and fucking Caroline has been in a wheelchair for a couple years and had leg surgery, so a lot of those moves we're doing chair moves, like, you know,
I love
old
that.
people aerobic style. It feels so liberating. I was like, why didn't we do this shit before? I wasted so much knee cartilage trying to get boys to like me. I'm like, I'm gonna kick my leg the highest. He's gonna love me. And he did it.
I'm hearing a theme here. I'm hearing testosterone replacement therapy, but also maybe knee cartilage replacement therapy being being in the mix.
Man, this shit is falling apart. I burned the candle at both ends. I regret nothing.
Okay, I feel like my last question is just about your experience of getting tea, taking tea, how it's been treating you. Thoughts?
I thought that I was gonna like rip a phone book in half, right? But seriously, like I thought it was gonna be like some crazy shit. It's like I don't understand why, but like a day after I take it, like get really emotional, like I'll be like crying all day.
Oh my God.
How do I classify? You remember like when you were first hitting puberty and you just have that butterfly feeling in your stomach and this wave of emotion and you can't understand why, but I'm so old now, my body can't keep up with the mania, so I just cry about it, I think. The dosage I take is not so that I like turn into Arnold Schwarzenegger. I'm actually catching up for lost time. I had like low T for about probably something like 12 or 13 years. I was like, fuck it. Like, and plus, I don't know. I liked not having a lot of testosterone because I wasn't like, you know, horny and violent all the time. Shit got chill. You know, like my skin was all clear. I felt pretty, but dude, like, but then they say if you're a man and if it's too low or too high, it throws all of your other hormones out of whack and it makes you susceptible to other things. And so I was like, well, if the doctor said wear the dress, I guess I'll wear the goddamn dress. So,
have you felt some of that stuff coming back, like libido, aggression, or has it been like pretty chill?
I feel the energy for it, but it's just I use my body in such an intense way for such a long time. My body can't keep up with the feelings. It's different when you're 40 and you did it a lot because it's like, yeah, I can be horny, but then it becomes vague because then I'm just like, am I really going to rinse my ass out at 2 o'clock in the morning for this fucking drug dealer, you know? And then, like, by the time you get to the dick, it's kind of like there's a dick in me and I'm just having an existential crisis as opposed to, like, arching my back and licking my lips. I'm like, damn, it just really comes down to this. And then even, too, I'll be like, I'm having a whole existentialist crisis with just sex in general. I'll be trying to, like, watch Twitter porn. Like, oh, it's just easier to watch porn. But the second you finish watching the porn, you're just like, ew, I participated in capitalism. And there's really just, like, a nation of people just making fuck videos all day. Like, there can't be anything that interesting about sex, actually. Or I hold it as sacred as I hold eating or shitting, but, like, putting much value of myself as a person into it like I did when I was younger, just too fucking jaded for that, no matter how much testosterone is coursing through my veins, right? So, yeah. What I'm feeling is very complex, and I'll leave it at that.
Oh my God. Oh my God, Brontez, thank you so much for talking to us. You are so fucking funny.
Anytime. I love y'all.
Wow, I feel like I related to so many different parts of that interview. Like, some of the things that Brontez was talking about feel like very Oakland specific, or maybe also just like specific to like gentrifying urban centers, if that makes sense. I also kind of hate the term like queer BIPOC. I know it's meant to be like unifying, but I feel like it just lacks any kind of like specificity. Like I feel like specificity in your language is like so important. And I kind of feel like that's what Brontez is calling for, you know, like in these DIY scenes, these punk scenes in San Francisco and Oakland 20 years ago, it feels like there was kind of this urgency of being on the cusp of something and constantly needing to define yourself. And like, because some of that ground has been set for us, I feel like we talked about in the show how sometimes we just fall back on these terms like masc and femme that like have been around for like 50 or 60 years or something. Like, I mean, way longer than that even, you know, as like the early 1900s or something. And I think what's so interesting about Brontez is that he is like constantly brimming with urgency and energy, possibly from taking ketamine, which I do think I could maybe use some of. I think I want, you know, queerness and transness to feel like this thing where we're inventing ourselves every day on our own terms and not just like falling back on these things that have been handed to us. And I feel like, you know, Brontez just really fully embodies that.
Totally. I think he's like extremely like mercurial, like just you don't know where he's gonna go next. And I think that's just a really fun part of interacting with him and from like interviewing him. It was just like, oh my gosh, this is lucid. Like I'm obsessed with like what we're able to talk about and how quickly we can get to deeper, like the heart of certain like topics. It was just such a fun interview.
Totally. And it's like, I guess I'm connecting it to like, I'm interested in that as like, you know, even though Brontez is a cis, I'm interested in that as like a model for transness. Because I think at least for me, I'm like, no, these things, I have to be on a path and I have to take certain steps. And, you know, people are told if you want to take hormones, you have to do this first, you have to do that first. I feel like Brontez's like advice to trans folks was just like, figure that shit out every day, which, you know, in some cases does not work. But I think it is, you know, inspiring and interesting to think about.
Totally.
Gender Spiral is an original podcast from Audiation. This episode was mixed by Matt Noble, and music is composed by Chanel Critchlow, with art by Joey Hahn and graphics by Honey Hodges. This show is executive produced by Ireland Meacham, myself, Babette Thomas, my co-host Allie Beardsley, and Sandy Smullins, with additional story editing from me.
Thanks to our guest Brontez Purnell. You can find a link to his Instagram in the show notes. If you like the show, please head over to patreon.com/genderspiralpodcast to support us for $2 a month, or subscribe to a higher tier for bonus content, special monthly postcards, and even free tote bags.
You can also check us out at genderspiralpod.com, where you'll find a link to leave us a voicemail to ask us questions, tell us who you want to hear from, and what you want to hear about on the show. And follow us on Instagram. It's at Gender Spiral. Subscribe wherever you get your podcast to stay tuned. We're releasing a brand new episode every single week this summer.
Tune in next week to Gender Spiral,
where you never have to spiral alone.
Ooh.
Audiation.
Marketing is hard. But I'll tell you a little secret. It doesn't have to be. Let me point something out. You're listening to a podcast right now, and it's great. You love the host. You seek it out and download it. You listen to it while driving, working out, cooking, even going to the bathroom. Podcasts are a pretty close companion. And this is a podcast ad. Did I get your attention? You can reach great listeners like yourself with podcast advertising from Libsyn Ads. Choose from hundreds of top podcasts offering host endorsements, or run a pre-produced ad like this one across thousands of shows to reach your target audience and their favorite podcasts with Libsyn Ads. Go to libsynads.com, that's Libsyn, ads.com today.